The SAT's been doing this a little bit more than they used to on past versions of the SAT, this kind of question mark rule. I find this really, really easy and obvious. But I'm curious if other people don't. I don't think it's bad if you have trouble with this. I'm just curious. So please put comments here if you had trouble with this question, especially if you are not a native English speaker. I'm curious if this is something that's just hard for non-native English speakers to grasp. But basically, a question mark needs to follow a question, right? So when do we use a question mark? In a situation just like that, right? It's a question. There's an implied kind of answer that I'm about to give. So does this sound like a question? Well, that did, so that would get a question mark, but let's look at the example here. Researchers Amit Kumar and Nicholas Epley investigated how do people perceive acts of kindness. Well, it's not a question, right? It's a statement about what these people investigated. So I read choice A because it was just the first thing, but it sounded like a question in choice A, right? And then choice B is going to actually turn it into one with a question mark. Now, if we didn't have any other part of this sentence and we just read choice B, do people perceive acts of kindness? That is a question, right? It implies we're going to answer it like, yes, they do, or no, they don't. Even if we added in the word right before the blank, the how do people perceive acts of kindness? Well, they use their eyes or their ears, like, I don't know, whatever, right? That's a question. But the part before the how is where this stops being a question, because that it's a sentence about a question, basically. It is not itself a question. So what we really want to say is it's going to be choice D here. Researchers Amit Kumar and Nicholas Epley investigated how people perceive acts of kindness. Notice it's a statement. There's no like, my voice isn't going up at the end, kind of like and setting you up to answer my question, right? And that's a key marker in English about whether something is a question. We tend to do this kind of like up talk. It's hard to pin down, but that's why, again, I think that this is so easy for me, is it's just very natural how you read a sentence and how you think. But I'm curious if people, from who don't speak English natively have more trouble with this. So please let me know. But yes, we just want to end this with a period. But notice what the SAT is doing here. By offering you the question mark, they're trying to mess with you, but also they're deliberately using situations that kind of have a little bit of a question involved. But when it's just a statement about people, what people asked or what they investigated, that's a statement. It's just a statement of fact, and so it gets a period. So hopefully, if you see a couple of these rules, maybe I'll make a lesson on them, you'll be able to figure out, okay, what the SAT is doing. Generally speaking, we're not going to use a question mark on these SAT questions, but I have seen them use it occasionally, so there's nothing that's set in stone here. You got to just play it by whatever the question or whatever the sentences say.